Elizabeth, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Congratulations on 3 decades, the 30th year of Parks Associates.
Thank you so much. It's been an exciting week here in Santa Clara.
What have you seen that has surprised you most over those 30 years of tracking the smart home and connected home users?
Yeah, I think the thing that maybe amazes me most is how closely the discussions that we have today align with what we were talking about 30, 40 years ago. And we were able to show that when we showed the 1986 National Association of Home Builders video. And then I think when we saw DECO present today and showed some video of the current future home, there's just a lot of similarities. The technology has grown up, but we're talking about the same applications that we were 30, 40 years ago today.
Give me one reference point from the DECO talk that you're referencing.
Yeah, I think DECO is putting in sensor technology into the light switch that creates an ambient experience through spatial intelligence. And if you think back in the day in the 80s when we were talking about controls and automation and things happening almost in a cascading fashion, this happens and that happens. That's really a lot of what we're still talking about. It's just the technology has grown up. And of course, it's grown up in the past few years in a huge way with AI. And so I think that's really where we're seeing a differentiator now that'll be a true catalyst for the smart home space.
Well, I know you guys have been relied on so much for helping companies track product strategy, product development. That's huge. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, we love to help companies understand and validate the work that they're doing, as well as think about what's the next solution to bring to market. It's an amazing position for us to interact across a lot of different market segments that touch the consumer and multifamily and small business space. And I think we see a lot of the products in market that I know we worked on the research work for those companies. A lot of it we aren't allowed to disclose, but when you see things happen and you know that the work you've done has helped create that next generation of product, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, don't be humble. How cool is that? And
yeah.
Your mom as well. She wasn't here this trip, but
yes.
Trisha Parks. Wow.
Yes, yeah, she's amazing, and I even had somebody came up and said, "Oh, you're the founder. You're so young." I said, "No, I'm not the founder." She had a vision way before everybody else, and it's the same vision that Parks has held as we've moved through time, and I think that is a testament to the research work and the longevity of our position in the market. To really understand how the world is going to unfold and forecast, project, and then track it as it's happening.
Wow. So obviously a lot of talk about the consumer, the connected home consumer. All these companies, dealers, manufacturers, OEMs, they all want to provide value. What would you say they misunderstand most about the connected home user?
Yeah, I think there's a perception perhaps that consumers care about the details of the technology, and they really don't. They don't even know, as it was shown in some of our sessions throughout the week, consumers don't know if you've got Thread or Z-Wave or Zigbee. They're looking at that application and the value that they personally have for whatever's happening. So, consumers are constantly on a buyer journey, and the smart home really has unfolded because people go out typically and they're buying one thing and then they like it and they're buying another thing and they're stacking and they're building their own smart home. In the security space, we see it with the add-on devices to the security system, which has now become quite valuable. But in smart home alone, if you take out traditional security provider platform, then you have a lot of people coming and buying specific devices, and then they get to a tipping point where they're going to need that platform and want to ramp up into something more robust that can meet their needs. So it's a build your own smart home kind of market, and that means that typically consumers are looking for one kind of certain thing, and then they get a taste of the experience and they want more. And that's why we think that experience part, and the first time somebody has the experience, is of critical importance. Because if it doesn't go well, you just lost your customer.
Yeah.
And you lost more than that. You lost what was coming next, because they're going to be buying more.
So much talk about AI and the impact and the disruption at the conference this year. I'd like to reference really quick dealers that are installing this stuff. Can you kind of riff a little bit about, is the channel going to keep pace with all the vision that we heard about at the conference this year?
Yeah, I think dealers in particular, they're just in a hard position right now. There is a lot coming at them that they're supposed to try to sell and upsell and understand. So I don't think they're going to be able to move as quickly as some of the technology coming to market. However, if they're going to stay in business, they have to be moving towards that. And that's why we think it's so important for the companies building the products and the platforms to be really leaning in as far as they can into supporting that dealer channel, right? And especially the local dealers. Those are the ones that we see really, really struggling. And as a small business and one that supports small businesses, especially family-owned, we want to make sure that local dealer channel still exists and is there, and that there's a lot of value with that. So we wholly support all of the efforts of companies like Residio or Alarm.com and JCI and the dealer programs that they're bringing, right? And we think that's of important value. Also making sure there's a workforce, which we talked about this week, in educating young people on the technical training that isn't just a plumbing or an electrician job. These are low voltage, but we need a workforce to do the installation side, because it's not just a DIY market. DIY is great, and it's there, and it's going to serve a lot of people, but it is a step into technology, and there is a lot more that requires that installer. And of course, the security dealers are in prime position here to capture this, but they have to move. Even if it's not quickly, you've got to move forward. So even if it's just a little baby step, that's what they need to be doing.
Absolutely. Let's wrap up. Give me your big takeaway from this conference. Maybe something that surprised you heard from the stage or in conversation.
Yeah, I think I learned so many things this week. It was really amazing. The Perplexity Be Well keynote that touched on how healthcare and the home are so interconnected, I think was mind-blowing, and very interesting to think about what that future holds there. We had a 14-year-old on stage as one of our keynotes. She has founded a company that is a kind of a surveillance proactive kind of business, and that really opened my eyes up to this low barrier to entry to get things done.
Yeah, it was astounding.
A 14-year-old doing all that. She got product made in China.
VIGIL.
Yes, she was amazing, Shauna Gill. So I think one thing that we didn't talk enough about that is going to be a big conversation coming up is the cybersecurity issues. We did touch on that, data privacy and security, but I think that's going to blow up and be a really big problem soon.
Wow. So content for next year's Connections Conference.
Well, we are so excited to be back again in California next year. We'll be in the same location, and we will be definitely focused on AI and agentic AI, and this is a lot about transformation of specific markets, and again, that convergence between these different ecosystems. And all of that equals services, partnerships, standards, interoperability, all of the same things that we've been talking about for the past 30 years. So we're excited. to host our 31st event next year and to welcome the industry back again to California.
Excellent. 3 decades, y'all.
Thank you so much for your time.